Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to tackle one of the biggest questions in all of human history. How did we, a basically insignificant ape, suddenly come to rule the entire planet? Well, the answer, believe it or not, is a superpower that you and I use every single day.
Okay, so picture this. For most of our existence, our ancestors, Homo sapiens, they were nothing special. They pop up in East Africa about 150,000 years ago, and for tens of thousands of years, they just kind of hung around. In fact, when they first tried to venture north out of Africa, they got their butts kicked by their Neanderthal cousins and had to retreat. But then, around 70,000 years ago, something happened. Something that changed the game forever.
So let's be real about these early humans. Physically, they looked just like us. They had our big, impressive brains. But what they did with them was, frankly, pretty unimpressive. Their tools were basic, they weren't creating anything amazing, and like we said, they lost their first big fight. Think of it this way. The hardware was there, but the mental software, it was a much earlier, way more limited version.
And then, boom. In what's just a blink of an eye in evolutionary terms, sapiens went from being middle of the pack to world conquerors. All of a sudden, they're inventing incredible stuff. Boats, oil lamps, bows and arrows, even needles to sew warm clothes. We start seeing the first real art, jewelry, evidence of religion, long-distance trade, you name it. They didn't just walk out of Africa this time. They exploded across the globe.
So you gotta ask, what was their secret? What was the switch that got flipped? Well, most researchers think it came down to a random genetic mutation, a lucky accidental rewiring of the sapiens' brain. And what did that rewiring do? It unlocked a completely new kind of language, giving us an edge no other animal had ever had.
Now, you might be thinking, wait a minute, lots of animals have language. And you're right. But what sapiens developed was something else entirely. There are a few really cool theories that, when you put them together, show us just how much of a game changer this new language really was.
So, theory number one is all about flexibility and detail. A monkey, for instance, can shout, "Careful, a lion!" And that's useful, for sure, but that's pretty much all it can say. A sapiens, with this new language, could say something like, "Hey, this morning, down by the riverband, I saw a lion stalking a herd of bison from the north." See the difference? That level of detail allows for incredibly complex planning. Suddenly, a whole group can coordinate to, say, scare that lion away and get the bison for themselves.
All right, theory number two is my favorite. It suggests our language didn't evolve to talk about lions, but to talk about each other. Yep, it's the gossip theory. You know, social cooperation is everything for survival. And to cooperate, you absolutely have to know what's going on in your group. Who can you trust? Who's a cheat? Who's friends with whom? Gossip is basically how we map out our social world. But here's the catch with gossip. There's a limit. Sociological research has shown that you can really only maintain stable, personal relationships in a group of up to about 150 people. Once you get bigger than that, you just can't keep track of everyone. So to build huge cities and massive empires, you need something way, way more powerful than just gossip. And this, right here, is the true secret weapon, the real superpower that Homo sapiens unlocked. It's the ability to not just talk about reality, but to speak about and truly believe in things that don't physically exist, things that are only real in our collective imagination.
This slide just nails the difference. Look, a monkey can warn about a real lion. That's communicating reality. But only a sapiens can say, "The lion is the guardian spirit of our tribe." That's creating a whole new, imagined reality. The lion is no longer just a dangerous predator, it's a sacred symbol that can unite an entire group of people. And these shared fictions, these imagined realities, are literally the glue that holds our entire world together. Think about it. Gods, nations, laws, money, human rights, none of these things are physical objects you can touch. They are powerful stories that we all agree to believe in. And because we believe, millions, even billions of complete strangers can cooperate on a massive scale.
Now, I know this can sound a little abstract, but this superpower is building the world around you every single day. Let's take a modern example, the car company, Peugeot. What is Peugeot, really? Is it the factories, the cars, the employees? Nope. If all its factories burned down tomorrow and every Peugeot car was scrapped, the company, Peugeot, would still exist. It could get a loan, build new factories, hire new people. Why? Because Peugeot is a legal fiction. It's an entity that exists only because we all believe in the story our legal system tells us.
Seriously, creating a company is like a modern magic ritual. A lawyer, who is basically a sorcerer in the story, writes down the correct legal spells on special paper. They perform the sacred rituals of signing and filing, and poof, a brand new imaginary entity is born. And we all just act as if it's completely real. It can own things, it pays taxes, it can even sue you.
This is the fundamental difference between us and every other animal on Earth. Chimps are smart, they cooperate, but only in small groups based on who they know personally. They can't get millions of chimps to work together because they can't invent stories about things like the Great Chimpanzee Nation or Chimp Inc. We can, and we do.
And you know what's really wild? Because we can change our stories, we can change how our societies work incredibly fast. Think about the French Revolution. In just a few years, the story changed from the divine right of kings to the sovereignty of the people. That's cultural evolution, and it moves at light speed compared to the slow, grinding pace of genetic evolution.
So let's circle all the way back to that first showdown with the Neanderthals. One-on-one, a Neanderthal was probably bigger and stronger, but they could only really cooperate in small bands of maybe 50. Sapiens, on the other hand, could unite hundreds of warriors by telling a powerful story about a tribal spirit who demands victory. In a fight like that, 50 Neanderthals never stood a chance against 500 sapiens all fighting for the same imagined cause.
When you get right down to it, our entire civilization, from our legal system and our economy to our nations and our values, it's all built on a foundation of shared stories. We literally live inside a world woven from fiction. And that makes storytelling not just some form of entertainment, but the single most powerful tool humanity has ever invented. So the question I'll leave you with is this: what stories are holding your world together?